Hello, greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. That's a terrible Jonathan Penner impression. Jesus, that is not a good way to start out the season. Tiki here, and I am joined by my fellow Survivor enthusiast, Lazerdude 99. How you doing?
I'm good, and I haven't had the 99 for a while, but just let you know, it's just Lazerdude. We're
Well,
friends.
you know what,
at this
dude?
point,
I've
so
told you this before, but that's what you get for having an insanely catchy theme song that has Lazerdude 99 in the title. I don't know what to tell you. It's jammed in my head.
Well, okay. Oh well, happy to be here. All the same.
All right, and then we also have the host of the Prometheus web series, which is gearing up for a second season. Give it up for Casey.
Hello. Thank you for having me on again, Tiki. It's fun to do this.
Indeed. Casey, what's the latest progress report with Prometheus Season 2?
So, Prometheus Season 2 has wrapped already. We wrapped about 3 weeks ago. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm pretty open about all my information. I had to put it on like a week and a half delay due to me finishing up an org, which I did win. Very
nice,
very
congrats.
Happy. I beat my brother, so that's even more exciting because it was a blood versus water season. But yeah, it's on a little bit of delay, but we're hoping if we can kind of catch up on the schedule, promo materials will probably start at the beginning of April.
Cool. Awesome. And for those of you who don't know, I was on Prometheus Season 1, and I legitimately thought it was one of the best web series I've ever encountered, just from an editing point of view, Casey. You did a fantastic job. So
thank you. That really seriously means a lot. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here to do, right? We're storytellers. It's what we do. All right. So with that in mind, guys, Survivor 41 has indeed dropped. 42, Jesus. I swear to God,
I'm the one, add the two.
Yeah, right. I don't know, guys. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't think y'all are going to be as positive as I am, but this wasn't like a top tier premiere by any means, but like with the exception of one or two people who still got a confessional, I pretty much got a really good read on each and every one of these people. And I will admit, some of them are archetypes, to be sure. But a lot of them, to me at least, kind of popped off the screen a little bit. I am cautiously optimistic about this cast. And for me, in the Survivor world, casting is everything. I mean, it's like, I think the worst season of Survivor there's ever been is probably Ghost Island, just because that season was literally like you had like maybe 4 good characters the whole time.
Oh, come on. At least it wasn't Thailand.
That's true. Thailand, I don't think I've ever actually watched all the way through, to tell you the truth.
You're not missing anything.
I know. I figured that wasn't. Like, I've seen the attack zone. I love Rob Z as a character. I'll give it that much. But anyway, so how are you all feeling about Survivor 42 and the premiere? We were having this discussion briefly off air, but I think we can both agree at the very least that the editing seems to be a little bit more balanced than 41.
For sure. You go ahead, Casey. You say first.
My apologies. Yeah, so here's what I'll say. I mean, yeah, we did briefly kind of talk about it right before we went on air, like literally the minute before we went on air. So my thing is that the season 42 premiere, I would say, is very much average in terms of, you know, if you were to seriously take all the premieres, it is very much on par as like an average. But I'm going to actually use the word mediocre just because it has a slightly more negative connotation. While I still liked the premiere and I'm, you know, obviously Survivor fanboy, I would say, yes, I agree with what you had said, Tiki. The editing was a lot more balanced for all the castaways. The average confessional count especially was roughly 3. But the thing is that a balanced edit for all contestants does not make for a good storytelling.
Sure.
So my thing is, and I think it's very important that we do compare this. My apologies, I left my notifications on. I think it is very important that we do have something to compare it to. And since we are supposedly in this new era of Survivor, comparing it to the first episode of last season, I think the first episode of last season, you developed a lot of characters very well, and some characters way more than others. Whereas in this episode, I feel like there were a few people that got the highlights. So, like, Marianne had the highest confessional count. And let me just say, if you're not saying Marianne is your favorite player so far, there is either A, something wrong with you, or B, the editors did not do their job, because Marianne is a bundle of freaking joy. She's so empathetic, and I love her.
I gotta say, you just called my wife soulless, because she does not like Marianne at all.
That's funny.
She is just so amazing. Like, and I'm not going to go too far into the characters because that's what our individual breakdown is. But, you know, just the scene when Jackson left, it just shows you how much empathy she has for her fellow players. And it's truly amazing. But I'll end my overview on this. While I think 41 was heavy on individual characters, 42, I almost feel like the edit was more on group dynamics within each tribe. And then I'll also say this too, and it's something that I like but also dislike for 42, is that every single freaking character has some sort of sob story background, and that's fine, but you don't have to have this dramatic backstory for you to care about someone, you know? And I kind of would just like to see the average man play this game, and just to get an average man story, whether that be man or woman.
Well, Casey, unfortunately, I think the average man just left. He was Zach. I think Zach wasn't the guy with no sob story other than he was a Survivor fan, and he's just left the island. So, but I do say that I will say this: I think the sob stories were not as heavy-handed as they were last time. The last time we got I felt like 4 or 5 times where we just showed the videos. It was like, oh, my sad life. And then we got back to it. You know, it was like,
I feel like this time around the videos were less sob stories. Like, they are sob stories to a certain extent, but I feel like they're more motivational and less feel sorry for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that almost goes hand in hand a lot of times too.
Well, you know, it's just the way that we are in an era of Survivor where they don't want to just be a show. They also want to matter. You know, like they're trying to get something trending every single time. And if they can get like Jackson's story trending, if they can get, you know, somebody telling the sad thing that's going on in their life and get people talking about that around the water cooler, and more likely tweeting about it, that's like what they're really going for here, then they'll be that's their goal. But I will say they weren't as heavy-handed this time. There was a few that I felt were a little bit, but for the most part I thought they weren't that heavy-handed. I didn't get to, I'll just say for my first impressions on the show, I think we all had a little bit of a dread going into this show, because there was a little bit of that feeling of 41 wasn't the success that we hoped it for. It had a great start. I'll say that 41 had a great start and then petered off by the end and went off with a little bit of a fart. Not to say that the winner didn't deserve it or anything like that. I don't have anything against the winner. I have anything I have against the show.
I have something against the twist.
This episode was I'm surprisingly optimistic about. I'm always optimistic when it comes to Survivor, but I had a little bit of a dread, and they could have, you know, justified it. But there is stuff about this episode that I like. We'll get into. I like the amulet. I like, you know, I like the dynamic that is focusing, as you said, on the tribe dynamics. What is the groups actually being like instead of one player's point of view. And so I'm okay that we don't have a main character yet, because we're just playing the field right now. As it dwindle down, we'll be able to see more and more a clearer picture of what the whole thing is all about. So yeah, thumbs up for me on this episode.
All right. We got Cody Campbell in the comments. Happy to have you. He says, I think the stories are just trying to remind the fans that these are real people, not just characters playing a game. And ironically enough, I think they are a good storytelling tool because it's very easy. It's almost like a cheat code for character development. So in that regard, I like it, and I like my favorite Survivor stories. Like I really like when personal stuff comes up naturally on the island.
Yeah,
naturally.
That's the word. Like when Tyson breaks down in Blood versus Water, like he's so close and it might get yanked out from under him again, and he starts tearing up on that. You can tell that that's a real emotion that he, brought up himself. Where this, they say, so who are you fighting for? Why are you playing Survivor? What inspires you? And they're asking those types of questions to garner these types of clips.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so let's get into things. We're going to start things off. We're going to start with the Vati tribe first, the Green tribe. And the reason why we're doing them first is because they're the only tribe this episode to not lose a member. And so basically we're going to go from Vati to Taku, who obviously lost Jackson. And then we will be covering the Ika tribe, or the Ika Wong tribe, as I like to call it. We'll be covering that last. So that in mind, let's get into it. Let me just pull up my There's going to be like a bit of a delay in between the tribes as I change the colors, but let's get into Daniel.
Dang, Daniel, he dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah, very heroes versus villains vibe from that whole segment.
Yeah.
I'll say this just in general. The Green tribe I feel like is our least developed tribe, so it's kind of cool that we're getting them out of the way first. As for Daniel, I feel like Daniel is the most established, and I will use the word character. Although, hi Cody, I know exactly who you are, and I completely agree with your statement. They are trying to show you that these are real people, not characters. But I'm still going to use the word characters just for the sake of it.
I mean, that's just that's what we do. We're storytellers. It's like already established.
And with Daniel, though, Daniel is, I think, the only solid established character. He does have a very much sob story background, but something that he's overcome. And I think, just naturally speaking, of the Green tribe, I just feel like he's the one person you have to root for. And given that they focus on him more heavily than the rest, either Daniel is going to make it far and become a prominent character, or he's going to go out in a big way pre-merge.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of all I really have to say about Daniel.
Yeah, I like him. He's certainly enthusiastic. Lazerdude?
Well, I guess I'll go. I think Daniel is the guy that's gonna get in trouble. I feel like him and Zach are in a similar situation. I think the Green tribe might be winning immunity for a while, so I don't think he'll be too much trouble right at the start. But I feel like Daniel is, you can tell that he's enthusiastic about this game and he's wanting to play. Now, he hasn't made any mistakes that we have seen so far. He hasn't gone looking for the idol and everyone's been wondering how far he's gone or anything like that. He seems to be working. Who was he? Was he working with the Chanel? Or was it Lydia? I think it was, I can't remember right now. Who did they, because I remember the pairs were with Jenny and Mike. And I can't remember who the other pairs they showed there was.
Not sure.
That's the thing. Honestly, I really couldn't tell you either.
I think it was Jenny and Mike, and then Lydia and Hai, and then Daniel and Chanel seem to be pairing up. And I think that's
I have Chanel marked as the least edited of all the cast. So yeah, I barely remember her.
Yes, but she did get one confessional talking about.
I marked down that she got one confessional on the rewatch, but yeah, it seemed like a very obligatory, like, it was not a character building confessional at all.
Actually, the funny thing is Chanel got the least amount of confessionals on her tribe and tied for the least amount of confessionals of the entire cast this episode.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but you got someone who's always going to get the boot in this episode in terms of it, and since they're not going to tribal council, you only need to really check in. But as for Daniel himself, I think that he's got a good partner right now, so that's good for him. I just worry that he's a guy that's going to peak in the middle of the game and then won't have the moves when it comes down to the end of the game. But as a character, he's definitely a fun guy. I like to see what they're going with him so far.
Yeah, I definitely think that his biggest hurdle is going to be surviving the first couple tribals he goes to, because obviously the shoulder thing was not a good look on his challenge skills.
Nope.
But I could totally see him as like a David Murphy type. That I mean, not that he's out of
David Murphy.
What?
Is he going to propose to Carolyn at the?
Oh God, I'm thinking of a totally different David. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
What is that David's last name? God, my memory is killing me. Don't get old, kids.
David Wright. David Wright.
Yeah, David Wright. Jesus.
Oh God, yeah. Millennials versus Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like have a story where it's like, I feel like if Daniel gets a footing in the tribe, he could go on that kind of a trajectory.
That's what I'm thinking. I think he could potentially be a big player far into the game. Whereas one of you guys compared him earlier to Zach. Zach is definitely very much that naive young player. David, I don't get that feeling. I just think he's just what's that?
Daniel, not David.
You said David.
Shit. Sorry, too many Davids floating around. But yeah, Daniel very much. I just think that given everything he had went through growing up, he has a very just like, I don't know. There's this, another positive type, vibe exuding from him, that I very much like.
All right, let's get to Hai, and I like what I see of him. I like his archetype a lot. Editing wise, it was very middle of the road. It was mostly narration on the twist, but I gotta say, I'm cautiously optimistic about him as a potential kind of late bloomer player. I don't know. Maybe it's just the diversity factor. We don't really see a lot of Asian men on Survivor, but I don't know. I'm kind of pulling for him. I've got to admit, even though he was very middle of the road in the edit.
I will say the one thing that concerns me with Hai is that he covered himself in blood.
Yeah. That made me laugh.
Like, okay. Dip your fingers in so it look like you struggled with the rope a bit. Don't make it look like you just killed a dragon with your bare hands. Like, what the and then Lydia's like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" Like,
I will say that little exchange with Lydia was one of my big laugh out loud moments of the episode. I love that. That little moment.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I could see him and Lydia being a good pair too.
I think that he might have a little bit of maybe that could be a sign of too exuberant or doesn't think things through fully. But I don't think Hai is in any danger. Even if this tribe starts losing and starts going to tribal council, I don't think Hai is going anywhere anytime soon. He seems to be well liked by everybody. He's not pissing anybody off. He's not trying to take the leadership position from Mike. He's playing.
He's good enough in challenges.
So based on what I know of him from the pregame stuff, and honestly in this episode with the new advantage twist in the beginning, I could see him very much, playing things, under the table and making it far that way. I honestly don't think, especially based off the edit, there's going to be anything for him for a while. I think he's going to kind of go undetected by both the players and the viewers for a while. I really wish I had more to say on him, but I don't.
Hey, it's all good. We don't need to have this be a 2-hour podcast. So if you only have some past thoughts, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
If you have a hot take, you have a hot take. If it's not, sometimes it's just cold.
All right. Let's move on to Mike. And honestly, preseason, Mike was probably the guy I was least looking forward to, because I'm like, oh, here we go again, just Tony and Tom Westman in a blender. And he is kind of that, but god damn it, the way that he talks in his confessionals, he's endearing. I can't say the man is not endearing.
I agree in a sense. I think, in terms of these archetypes that they go for, which things have changed ever since they got rid of shit.
Abraham?
No, the old casting director, I can't remember her name at this point.
Spillman.
Yeah. Each tribe has a Mike-esque character. So Mike is that like older alpha male-ish type character for his tribe, whereas if we look at the other tribes, it's very much Jonathan and Roxroy. But for Mike, there is something a little bit more, and I'm going to use the word again, positive to him. Where it's not so much negative, but given that he's older, he's like very much traditional. When it comes down to it, if he's really not pulling his weight, or he starts to get a little bit more alpha male aggressive, I could see them setting him up to be an early first boot for that tribe.
I think Daniel's might be trying to set him up, but I don't see Mike as that type of character. He seems to be a little bit more chill, a little not as aggressive, and more of an encouraging type leader. And maybe this has to do with his experience as a fire chief. Although I'm not sure if anybody else noticed this, but I thought this was so funny when he's like, "I'm the first Italian Puerto Rican fire chief." Well, to be fair, Mike, I mean that's a very unique set of heritages coming together. So
You know what? I will give it points for diversity, though. I didn't even realize he was Puerto Rican.
Yes.
I think he was Puerto Rican. I don't want to. I might have been wrong. I remember him saying Italian. I think it was Puerto Rican. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, he was Puerto Rican. I remember from where we watch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. Which is actually, I mean, I want to note, some people, get very irritated when people talk about this, but even though it's not exactly in terms of story stuff, the diversity in this cast in general, more than 50% are people of color, but they're divided so well. If we look at the Vati tribe, for instance, 2/3 of the tribe is people of color.
Totally.
Yep.
I think diversity, like, it can become a sticky situation when you're trying to shove it into media where
Cook Islands.
Yeah, where it's like an awkward fit. But I honestly, Survivor, bring on the diversity. I want these people to be as different from each other as humanly possible. Like, I am 1000% all for diversity when it comes to Survivor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, the more this is normalized in Survivor, the more the diversity will actually affect the game.
I think, you always get some people who've like been complaining about this diversity initiative, like, oh, well, now it's just like you're going out of your way, and it's like, why are you doing this? Is like, well, look, now the black people don't have to be the only black person on the tribe and have to work their way 10 times harder than anything else. So now it's an even playing field. Everybody is from different walks of life, literally. Like, that's what Jeff would say. 20 people from different walks of life, all from New York, downtown.
It's literally just a bunch of model/actors from LA.
I mean, like, obviously they were from different places in the country, but it's like, this is literally different cultures and stuff coming together, and I really like that.
Yeah, I dig it. And it really does emphasize the social experiment of Survivor, which to me is the reason why season after season I keep coming back. All right, let's get on to Chanel, and we really don't have to spend a lot of time on her.
We don't have much to say.
Just generic camp life confessional. I have a feeling she's going to be at best like an early merge boot.
I don't know. I mean, Natalie Anderson didn't get too many confessionals in the early goings. I think that there's room for her to grow. At least we've set up something that she has an alliance with Daniel, so we could wait and see. I wait and see on Chanel. I don't really, from what I've seen.
That's fair. I just think with a premiere that was this even as far as editing goes, she honestly sticks out just how little I know about her. Like, she's the outlier of the cast in that regard, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Like, I don't have anything else to say. I just think that I wouldn't write her off just yet, is all I'm saying.
That's totally fair.
I'm going to say with her, it's going to be one of two things. Either A, later down the line, she's going to get much more of a story because she'll be a prominent player, or an episode before her boot, they'll start to actually feature her more.
I mean, heck,
on that, I mean, it's a this or that situation with her, and that's such a generic this or that, but there's nothing I can say more.
I mean, heck, did Erica even get a confessional in her first episode? I don't think she did.
Yeah, she did. She had 2 in her first episode.
Was it one of them the stupid lion and lamb thing?
No, that wasn't
I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of that arc.
I'm just saying there's chance for her to grow, but that's all I have to say.
All right, next up we have Jenny, and I actually like her a lot.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She seems a little bit game body, but I like how intelligent she is. I really did enjoy the dynamic between her and Mike. It felt like 2 different generations and cultures coming together. So that was fun to see.
Yeah,
I seem to be a very calming presence that everyone just likes to be around, and those people you got to watch out for because they can lure you right in.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't quite get the game bot feel from her, but I could see.
I'm just talking about how much of an emphasis on the challenge there was with her.
Okay, yeah, I mean, she's very
maybe not game bot, but just they clearly illustrated her intelligence.
Yeah, and I think honestly, that is either going to be her winning factor or her downfall is how smart she is, because that is pretty much all they've emphasized with her. And her thing with Mike. I think, as I said, I could see Mike being a potential first boot on this tribe. Jenny could just as easily be the same. She's not even that old. She's 42 years old, but she could easily be singled out as the older woman. Really smart. Maybe not physically the best, but really smart and someone to watch out for later. I'm barely even
a decade removed from 42, so that terrifies me. That, anyways, you're right.
One thing that I did look at is when we went to Ship's Wheel Island, when we saw all the different, all the different girls, Marianne and all them. Who else went? Oh, Drea went, did their thing. All the other ones were like, oh, I don't know what everyone else is gonna do, but well, I guess I'll risk it. And Jenny was the only one who said, from what I can see about them, they seem to probably be risk takers. They're young, they're risk takers, so I'm gonna protect my vote. And it was a good call. It was the right call.
For sure. All right, and finally we have Lydia. Basically my Survivor crush this season, not gonna lie. I love me a good awkward dorky girl. Lydia, I don't know. I think she's a really, really solid character. We haven't seen a ton of her yet, but she kind of gives me like a more outwardly warm Sophie Clark kind of vibe a little bit. Where it's like if Sophie Clark was a little bit more socially approachable. Does that make sense?
I mean, then it's just not Sophie Clark. No, I'm kidding. But
right.
I get what you mean. We haven't seen her work strategically just yet. I think that right now she's trying to play up to be the big goofy girl that's just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? But we'll actually see if she actually has.
I think that Marianne is kind of filling that role more than she is.
She can't know what Marianne's doing on her tribe. She can only do what she's doing.
That's true, yeah.
But I think that's what she's trying to present, and we'll have to wait and see because I don't necessarily. I think on if this was an old school Survivor, she would definitely be a first target. But I feel like Hai is probably the most secure person on this tribe, and the thing that she has teamed up with Hai is probably maybe secured her unless she does something really, really bad. But
so she's another one of these characters that we didn't get a ton of screen time with her, but what we did get definitely compelled me towards her and made me want to see more. Casey?
I think that's fair. Honestly, I see her being likable. I see her being very innocent from what I can tell. And honestly, she seems like her character. I think she's going to be straightforward. I think she's going to be honest, loyal, and she'll be in and she'll be out at some point. I don't see much complexity to her as a player, at least.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah, I think if she goes, it'll be a swap screwed situation. But
all right, so let me get the hex code here set to orange, And we will transition into the next tribe. And I warned you guys, this is going to be kind of like a clunky transition here. I'm sorry about that.
You're good.
That's okay. Here we go.
Yeah. Were you going to say Lazerdude?
Well, I was just going to say, I didn't know how long it was going to take, so I said maybe we should talk about the amulets in the meantime. But
we can talk about the amulets.
what do you guys think of this? I'm all for it.
I like it. I'm very much a fan of advantages and twists that have an advantage side, but also a disadvantage side.
Yeah.
And the fact that people could target you, it's very interesting that I wasn't expecting anything new in regards to advantages this season, but I do very much like the possibility of what this could become.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think it's better than anything they came up with in season 41.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the best new advantage that they've added in a long time. Just because, I mean, obviously, 3 people aren't going to come together for an extra vote. Everyone just knows that. But it's the fact that it's 3 people, and it's because like if you blindside one of these 3 people, then the other people are just going to be looking at you like with a knife dagger behind their back and just like, sure, we'll work together.
Right.
You can't fully trust somebody like that. It's like, it's a situation where you have to trust each other, but you can't trust each other. It's like, are they going to stab you in the back or be your savior? You don't know. And of course, it's not like you've had any time to really establish any rapport. It was 5 seconds. Okay, let's do this. And then cover ourselves with blood. But I love it. I can't wait to see where they go with it. Even if it fizzles out and just blaze in a blaze of glory, I think it'll be fun.
All right. Okay, so let's get to the Orange Tribe, which I believe their name is Taku. All right. So let's start with Jackson. Very little screen time until his actual evacuation, but I gotta say the short time that we spent with them, it was a pretty heartfelt. For once, the sob story side of things I thought was actually pretty damn compelling, given their story.
Absolutely. I think generally speaking, there also isn't too much to say about Jackson. I think they introduced Jackson's story right at the perfect time. They gave you a moment to let that sink in as they went to the other tribe. And then when they came back, they teased you with that segment about the dehydration, which could have potentially been the effect of the lithium withdrawal.
Yeah.
And they went into it. Now, I had no clue where that story was going when Jeff pulled Jackson aside, to be honest. And this is going to sound a little crazy, but I actually thought they were going to get mad that Jackson might have hid the fact that he is a transgender man. That's what it felt like.
Jesus Christ.
And,
oh my
and
God.
honestly, that's what I remember.
They would not have put that on the show. They saw what happened with Jeff
I
Barber.
would hope so, but it gave me a really horrible pit in my stomach, but thank God they didn't go that route.
I will give Jeff a ton of credit. I think he handled this with the type of grace and dignity that makes him a damn good host to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yes. I will say, though, it does make me a little bit upset, just because there's so many Survivor fans that want to play it. He did hide this. I don't want to. I'm not judging the guy for anything. It's like everyone has their own struggles. He thought he was going to be off of this in time.
Yeah,
but it does suck that there was somebody else that wanted to go out there that wasn't able.
It was a very tricky, almost morally gray situation, and given Jackson's story and who he is and the trials that he's gone through, I think it was handled about as professionally as they could have.
Absolutely, it was.
Yeah, and Jackson gave
respect.
Yeah, and absolutely, Jackson gave permission, to be open about it, which I can completely appreciate from not only a player perspective, but also from a viewer perspective and a production kind of person, it's a sensitive topic, and that person gave their permission, and they handled it, I think, as best as humanly possible. And with Jackson, the thing that also really kind of breaks my heart about this situation is that as long as he's been trying to get on this show, the fact that he lied about his medical history, he will probably never be invited back on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, he wouldn't. That's the sad thing. Is like if he had maybe been up front from the start, like maybe
they might have bumped him to 43.
43, maybe 44. It's happened,
Yeah, it has happened.
I think for some people, they're like, look, I got bumped once and then I come back. This might not ever happen again. You get like, that's what happened with Tony. Actually, he was going to be on a different season. And then he said, I can't do it. My wife's having a baby. Then they wanted him for the next one. And he's like, well, I'm not sure if I can do it. His wife's like, you got to do it now. They might not ask again. So I can get and understand where he's coming from. It's just unfortunate because now he won't be able to be on the show for more than the 2 days he was there.
Yeah. All right. But I will say that his exit gave us probably the most epic character moment in the whole episode with Marianne's reaction.
Oh my god.
It's a little over the top.
It's over the top, man, but it's genuine. I mean, you cannot fake that kind of emotion, dude.
I don't think she's like, a child that's crying, and then as soon as the parent leaves the room, they're like, okay, I'm fine.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. She's just so empathetic, and she's so amazing. I absolutely love her. I think there hasn't been a Survivor contestant in years that I've instantly loved.
All right, we'll get to her. We'll get to her. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have Jonathan, and all I can say about this dude is that he is a beast.
Yes.
I mean, just I have not been as impressed physically with someone in a challenge in a while, honestly.
Take a look at the cast photo.
I know, right?
Mike's the only one that comes near, and his head.
I mean, it's like I do not buy. I buy Mike as the older guy. I buy Roxroy as I do not buy this dude as the older guy of the tribe.
Yeah.
Even though age-wise he might be.
He's not. Jonathan's not that old. He's only 28. Marianne.
There you go.
Yeah, Jackson and I forgot. God, I don't even remember the other girl's name. Yeah. They're both the same age. They're in their late 40s. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say he almost comes off as, in a sense, alpha male douchey, but also there's something about him that also comes off as potentially very open and peace loving.
I'm getting John Hennigan vibes.
Here's the thing. I thought he was going to be more douchey than he actually turned out to be. He looks like a guy that's a little full of himself and whatnot, but
it's impossible to look like that and not kind of have some low-key douche.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we're all jealous, of course. But it's like he, when it came to the triangle puzzle thing, he's like, look, I'm not going to be any help here. I'm going to go work on the shelter. You guys do it. I believe in you.
I actually really like that. I thought that was a really smart, low-key social move on his part.
Because we've seen people like Chris Noble, who's as dumb as a bag of rocks, but thinks
I love Chris Noble. He's one of the few bright spots of Ghost Island.
He's so good. He's so funny. But, he couldn't have solved that. He would have been looking at the triangle puzzles well, there's one big triangle. Don't you?
Right.
But Jonathan also, I think Jonathan's the only really physical fit guy on this whole season.
Easily.
Not that everyone else is
the Goliath of the whole cast for sure.
But he's the only guy here that's really buff. Everybody else seems to be more average Joes. So I definitely think Jonathan is, as long as he doesn't try to alpha male control the tribe, which I don't see from him so far, I think Jonathan's making it to the merge. Now, after that happens,
he's kind of screwed unless he pulls a haul away.
I mean, Jonathan, a guy like Jonathan, though, ideally is my type of perfect alliance partner. I want somebody who is the bigger guy, gonna be super buff.
Jeremy would be on this guy, man, for his.
My God, Jonathan's my best friend, man. But likable and definitely a beast so far.
Okay, next up, Omar. I'm a little bit mixed on him. I'm not gonna lie. I think I like what he brings to the table from a character point of view so far. As we already kind of discussed, I do appreciate his flamingo shirt. I think it's one of the more iconic wardrobes of this cast, and I do like myself a good iconic Survivor wardrobe. But I don't know, like, as far as a personality goes, I could totally see him going either way with me. I could see him being a really rootable underdog, or I could totally see him just being a slimy weasel that I just want off of my TV. I literally think it could go either way for him, depending on how he plays the game.
What do you think, Casey? What's your read?
So for me, it's another one where it's really hard to tell. I want to say that I don't get me. Do we watch Big Brother here?
I do not.
I mean, I haven't watched it in years. Sorry.
I almost get.
I tried with All Stars, but All Stars was All Stars, you know?
Yeah. With this guy, though, I almost get like Ovi vibes. I think that's how you say that guy's name.
I know who Ovi is, and I can see that. Yeah,
I recognize that also they're both like people of color, and that might actually be in part why I'm getting these vibes. But I think his clothing also gives me this almost, even though he's like in his 30s, like young innocence. He, loves to be goofy and stuff like that. That's very much the vibes I'm getting from him. But beyond that, I also, once again, I don't have a whole lot to say about these people.
It's fine. It's fine.
Omar, I think, is probably in a good spot. Like, I think that he's, so far, he hasn't stepped on anybody's toes. I don't think anybody's necessarily going to be gunning for him right away unless they're, like, trying to get out a threat. And I think that if he like gets with like the people like Jonathan and stuff, like he could be a very strong alliance going forward. I think it all, as it always does, it depends on how the tribes run out. With Jonathan on your tribe, like you can't vote Jonathan out first. Because
I would be surprised if this tribe loses a challenge. I'm going to throw that out there.
And if they do, I feel like Maria might be the one facing the axe, but that's just
Mariah, by the way, not
Mariah. Okay, sorry,
Mariah.
Yeah.
There's like a silent A, or there not a silent A, but there's like a hidden A in her name.
Looks like Marianne. Anyway, but Omar,
it looks like Maria, but it's Mariah. Anyway, sorry.
I think Omar has a chance to really do well in this. I would not be surprised if he goes well. All the way, I don't know about that just yet, but so far, I'm up. I'm more up than I am down.
All right. Okay, Lindsay. Casey, I'm willing to bet that this is the person that tied Chanel in the least amount of confessionals.
Let me check my list. Hold on.
But she got
Lindsay. Yes, Lindsay is also. There's a couple people that tied for only 2 confessionals, and Lindsay is another one.
Yeah, I think the difference with her is that she was spotlighted pretty heavily in a challenge.
Yep. Yes. Oh, she's definitely. I think honestly, her main takeaway from this episode is she is the quote unquote sporty woman player.
Yeah, totally.
She will be, and if she makes it to the merge, I would not freaking doubt it if she dominates, and that will be her claim to fame, and that's it. That is my whole guess.
I don't have any other read on her other than that myself.
I think that there is something with her though, because here's the thing. She was the only one that did not put blood on herself.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out.
She's like, I don't think that's a good idea, guys. She had some common sense, like covered in blood is only going to bring up questions, so maybe you shouldn't do that.
Right. It's like, just because the blood's there doesn't mean you got to use it.
Yeah.
She
like,
also
Survivor hosed you, guys. I'm surprised. I'm looking for secret scenes to see if there's someone's like, why were they covered in blood?
Like, what happened out there?
So I think she has a good head on her shoulders. But who knows? Just because you're good in one moment doesn't mean you're good for the rest, as we'll get to when we eventually talk about Tori.
Although I will also say with Lindsay, Lindsay, she did what she had to do and she moved on. She darted. She was like way down that beach. I believe she was the first one, which gave her group a severe or significant advantage in the beginning challenge.
All right, yeah, I think other than the challenge performance, there's not really a ton with her, but I agree, Lazerdude. There's definitely some subtle social strategy from her that's already emerging. All right, next up, Mariah. My only note for her is that she's literally Tiffany Seeley 2.0. I don't have anything else to. She feels exactly like Tiffany. Can anyone dispute that?
I will.
I'm sorry. I don't get much of a read out of this woman.
Tiffany was better at challenges. I mean, Mariah couldn't do the stick thing, and she had a long head start.
Well, Tiffany totally blew the challenge in episode 2, need I remind you.
Yes.
I mean, with Mariah, I think she is probably the one castaway I have nothing on.
I feel the same way, honestly.
She's the mom.
She's the oldest.
She's the older woman archetype, and that's like it.
Yeah, and she'll be first boot. I would bet $1 million on it.
If I was a betting man, I would say Mariah is the first one out on this tribe.
All right, that's probably a pretty fair assessment. All right, now let's go to Marianne. I'm sorry, I can't see her name without thinking of the Bill Thomas White Rabbit. Marianne.
I love that. I love that you brought that out. This is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Thank you, Casey.
But yeah, so Marianne.
This won't do, Marianne.
I mean, I've already said a lot on her.
I think I've got a poster quote for her. I think she represents a unique hero casting choice in the same way that Shan was a very unique villain. I feel like her and Shan are almost like kind of like a yin-yang of each other in terms of the focus they got, and also in terms of just like she is so overly positive and Shan was so overly negative. Does that make sense?
Oh no! I actually
Shan was positive to his tribe mates.
I never thought about it that way, but I think I'd agree.
I'm just saying, as far as like, I think it's pretty obvious she is the big character this season. Like, she is the closest to like a Rupert that we're going to get. I think that's pretty obvious.
I hope she does more impressions of her mother. Marianne.
I do too. I like that. I like that. Marianne, why would you go on this show, Marianne?
You should not use the extra vote now.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
Sorry. I really
just say that it's a voice that you can tell that obviously she's honed after a lot of practice.
Totally.
Oh yeah. With Marianne, though, like I said, she's so positive. I don't understand why anyone wouldn't like her. In addition to that, as I was trying to say before, too, like, I think this is like the first time in years on the first episode I instantly loved a contestant. And the thing is that I'm seriously going to bet a lot of money on this. Marianne is going to be a loyal player, but a smart player. And I think the biggest thing is them adding in the segment where she, first off, how the hell does everyone know about the prisoner's dilemma? Like, it's just so funny on this show. It is just common knowledge.
Especially when it's not even like really the exact definition of a prisoner's dilemma to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah, but nobody's expected to come up with it's a three-way.
I honestly wonder if that was the producers feeding them that, honestly.
Well, then they did it 2 seasons in a row. But the thing is that once again, she's likable. I get the feeling she's going to be relatively honest, relatively loyal, and she's smart. And she even said, every time a Survivor player had gotten out, the one thing they say is, I should have taken that risk. I should have done this. And she said, I am going to do this. And look what it did. Even though she doesn't know it, it earned her an extra vote. I love Marianne. I have high expectations for her. I could almost to an extent see her being a David Wright kind of character. And what I mean by that is like the unassuming person who actually really develops into a great Survivor player over the course of their season. I have high expectations for her.
Yeah, and I think she's going to be around a long time, given the edit in the premiere.
I think what
it would
she
not
has
surprise me at all if she was
for-
an end gamer.
Yeah, I could see it for sure. I think what she is going for her the most is the fact that she is genuine with everybody about everything. Because
Totally.
I think a lot of people try to lie and scheme too much in the beginning, like Tori. Oh, I'm a therapist. Gotta lie about that. Marianne.
I want to add, I love Tori as a character. I just want to put that asterisk out there before we get to her.
Yes, we'll get to her, but
but
where Marianne is just like totally just hard on her sleeve, like if we got to the situation of someone needs to come on the boat to Shipwheel Island. I think every one of us would be in our own heads like, oh, well, we can't volunteer. That'll be too suspicious. Where Marianne's like, oh, I would like to go. And then everyone's okay. And it's like, but she's genuine. She's like, I would like to go. And so she goes. And I think that is actually making her very endearing to a lot of people. And I think that'll work for her.
All right. Big fan favorite vibes right off the bat, I think. Okay. Let me switch things over to, this is going to be kind of, I guess I'll just go with the usual blue. Oh, one thing I'll add with the Marianne thing, just to transition us. Wouldn't it be funny if she did kind of like, I mean, I doubt this is going to happen, but this is just my own sick headcanon. If the voice of her mother became kind of like a running narrative, like, oh God, like if my mom saw me doing this, she'd be like, Marianne, why are you trusting those people?
It's like Shan's theme.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would love that.
Yes, yeah.
If Marianne's mom just became like her voice of
she
reason.
Starts having conversations with her mom, like
right. All right. Anyways, on to the blue tribe. We're going to go females first, just so we end on Zach. Sure. So Drea.
We can do alphabetical. Drea is my winner pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Hot take.
I know it's a hot take. I like to choose my winner picks early on.
I have my winner pick, and it is also from this tribe.
I think that Drea is she's strong. She already has the amulet, but she also has an extra vote. So we know that she's a little bit emotional. I will give her that. Like her wanting to vote off Roxroy was an emotional response.
Yeah.
I think her working with a guy like Romeo is definitely going to help her down the line. But I think that she has that right aggressiveness to not play just easy. And so, I've liked everything I've seen of her. So that's why Drea is my winner pick of the season.
I'm not really getting those vibes, to tell you the truth. To me, she was pretty much to me, she was pretty much the most generic, like, and this is the game bot. That's the vibe I got of her. It was just pure game bot.
It's kind of crazy. I think all three of us got very different vibes, because my vibe is she is 75% emotion, 25% logic, and I think she will potentially be a big competitor. As it was even shown that, like, at one point she said, like, yo, and I don't think her entire reasoning behind getting Roxroy out was emotional, but she's like, yeah, at one point I was the only one, pulling the thing, and Roxroy was just resting. I think the thing is that, and it's very unfortunate, but I think it is something that does need to be said, is that people of color, especially women, Black women, they oftentimes get seen as aggressive when they're emotional. And I very much think people are going to, within the next couple episodes.
I'm not going to lie. You're kind of calling out my own bullshit here, Casey. I'm not going to lie.
And I think the thing is,
I feel very self-conscious when you say that.
I think it's a very valid thing, though. And I think it is the case. And I think, honestly, as much as I do actually kind of like her, I could almost actually see her being a pre-merge boot.
I could see it too.
I think her and Roxroy are going to get very similar. They're going to be giving off very similar negative vibes towards their fellow contestants.
Yeah, but I feel like
kind of agree.
Roxroy's aggressiveness is like driving against everyone. Where I feel like she was like, I see the scene where Tori goes over with her and says like, "Hey, I heard that you were calling me out to doing finding idols and stuff," and she didn't be like, "Hey, who told you that?" or aggressive with her. She was like, "Well, no, I didn't, but here's what I'm thinking right now," and she was very pragmatic and calm in that whole situation. So that's another thing that I looked at, and I was like, you know what? She handled that as well as she possibly could.
All right.
Okay. So I actually take that back. I take it a little bit back, but I still definitely see that I still really get the vibe that people are going to see her aggressive. The second she starts acting emotional, people are not going to like it. And maybe it's just because it's a trend that we always see in these reality competitions. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I do like Dre.
Okay. All right. Next up, Swati. Once again, we don't get a ton from her, but I really like her character setup. I actually really like her backstory. I think for someone as young as she is, she's got a super impressive life. Yeah, I'm feeling nothing but good vibes from her so far. I've got to be honest with you. We didn't learn a ton outside of her backstory, but I think it's yet another character where I'm like, okay, like I want to see where this person goes.
I don't like her chances for a win.
No, I do not see her winning.
Because let's put it this way: the youngest winners of Survivor have only won when there's been like either men versus women or young versus old. So I think that someone like this, unless she's with,
but like I said, she's got a ton of life experience for someone her age.
Oh, I don't agree. I don't disagree, but I think that she would have to really play really hard, and I feel like I think that her experience does help her a lot for sure, and that her thing. I don't necessarily think she's first boot. I think there is. I still feel like there's a little bit of a overeager mentality, a little bit. Like we saw in the beginning, it looked like there was 3 groups. It was Dre, Romy, and Roxroy, and Tori, Zach, and Swati. And the Tori, Zach, and Swati thing fell apart so easily.
It did. It really did.
And with no pressure from everybody else.
I honestly feel like Swati was just kind of like there, and Zach and Tori like equally were to blame for that whole thing falling apart, I think.
No matter what, she's not in a position of control right now.
Sure.
And I feel like she hasn't set herself up to be indispensable yet.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Like I said, what I like about her is almost exclusively her backstory, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I could, like, if she's an early boot, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
She's either going to be, I'm guessing she's either going to be a GOAT in the final 3, or she'll be somewhere like mid-merge because people are just like, she's likable, but, we don't want her to potentially steal votes.
Don't trust her.
All right. Next up, in my opinion, one of the big scene stealers of the episode, Tori. I thought this girl was a piping hot mess in all the right ways. She is not going to win. She is not going to go far, but I am going to enjoy having her on my screen.
Tori is she is a mess, like a complete mess. Like she feels like she's trying. She like every single time we see her, she says stuff, but we can see like it blowing up in her face. Like she's like, "I'm gonna relate to the cool kids or the young kids." And
that Harry Potter conversation was honestly one of the most cringe things I've ever seen on Survivor. But
to be fair, though, it seemed like it worked.
Yeah, but I'm saying like everybody wants an alliance. Like I enjoyed the cringe.
I mean,
it's like, what do you think of Butterbeer?
Like, hey, everybody, I don't have an idol, so please don't vote me out. It's like, oh my god.
She was getting super desperate there. I was honestly kind of surprised she wasn't the boot after that.
Yeah, well, I was surprised she wasn't, and I shouldn't have been, because they showed her like reading the clue to like the code word thing in the flashback.
Right. Yeah,
I
there's
should
a
have
couple
realized
instances
what
of that where I was like,
Bedoy.
spoilers, guys.
I thought that maybe she like had to do it, and they were gonna flash back to her finding it, but then not being able to play it. But but for Tori is. I agree with you. I don't think she's long for this game. I think she's going to flame out like a Jatia-esque sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe
She's
not that
gonna
bad,
make the
but
merge. I'll put it that way. But I think I think she has the potential to be one of the bigger pre-merge characters this time around.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree in terms of the fact. Well, also she also had with Marianne and Zach. Though they had the 3 highest confessional counts of this first episode, Tori will either be a very big character in the pre-merge, and we can't ever discount it because I think look at Nick from David versus Goliath, someone who was supposed to be the first boot and ended up winning the whole season. Tori, if she can fix her mistakes and get in good with the right people, I think she could go very far. It's really hard to really try and figure it out. I think the edit is probably telling us she's a hot mess and she's not long to be. But I think also we could see at the end of the episode, they were showing that she was trying to at least fix, her potential mistakes. Where, I'm trying not to dip into Zach, but that's just kind of how I'm feeling about that.
Sure.
But definitely at least a big character pre-merge.
Okay. All right, let's get to Roxroy.
Oh boy.
I'm not really feeling him. I got to be honest.
Anybody else getting Dan from Worlds Apart vibes where he's just like rubbing people the wrong way for no good reason? Like maybe not to that bad extent, but he seems to be like overly aggressive with people. And it's just like I felt it was funny. Like I knew what he did as a job, but he's just like when he's like, "Come on, guys, we need to work. We need to get this done." And it's like, "What do you do for a living?" "I'm a stay-at-home dad." Like,
right.
What do you do when your kids need to pick up their room? "We gotta clean this. We can't just leave these toys lying around."
Okay, this is gonna sound mean, but he totally sounds like the type of dad where it's like, do you guys remember the meme of the dad who basically like forced his daughter to open a can of canned food with a can opener, and until she did that, like they weren't gonna eat, and he made it like a whole day ordeal?
I am not familiar with that.
He kind of gives me that sort of energy. I'm sure he's a great dad. I'm probably pushing below the belt here, but
he almost gives off very much military family vibes.
Yeah.
I honestly, unless the quote unquote older people really stick together, I can't imagine Roxroy makes it to the merge.
Yeah, I agree.
He is not socially and perceptively aware of how he comes across. He is going to rub people the wrong way to a point where people are just like, we've got to get him out. He's not contributing to the challenges. He's already built the shelter. I believe Tori said that. They're just going to be like, he's got to go. I'm guessing very early boot.
Well, if we're looking at the order of this tribe, let's say they went in the next few tribals.
I have a feeling this could be the train wreck tribe, to tell you the truth.
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%.
This could be the Matt Singh. This could be the Matt or the what the Green tribe was last year. Honestly, if it comes to that, I think you're just going to see Romeo and Dre, the final two, standing.
Romeo, indeed. All right, so yeah, pretty vanilla takes on Roxroy overall. I think
what else can you say? He's just overly mean for something. Like he's one thing he said to Swati, something like he's like, call those shoes clean, or is like something he said something mean about her shoes. I'm like, why?
Yeah, right. That was so ridiculous. I couldn't tell if he was actually being 100% serious or semi-joking, but it's like, dude, you're fucking living in the jungle and they're her shoes. Like,
right.
What?
It's not like she's wearing heels. I mean, cut her a break.
Even if he makes it far into the game, there is no fucking way.
Okay, if he makes it far into the game, he's going to be a Will Sims.
Okay, Okay, guys,
Oh,
who is
God,
drawing
hopefully
more
not.
dead right now in terms of winning chances, Roxroy or Tori?
Honestly, Roxroy.
I
Because I feel like at least Tori has a mind for the game and she's way more physically fit than he is.
yeah, but I feel like Roxroy might last longer than Tori.
I am really hoping the women, like, normally I'm not about, alliances based on, a specific attribute like sex, gender, race, but I am very much hoping the women get together for this tribe and just boot both of the men because they are unfucking likable.
Oh boy. Okay.
Both. Okay, let's get.
All right. Well, that's
great.
going to set a tone here. Romeo is my winner pick.
Romeo, villain of the season. Stamp it, mail it, send it to the post office. Like that's
just because he turned on Zach. Why?
No, he just his strategy, the way he talks in terms of trying to get the young people out, the way he like nonchalantly talks about some of his game. Zach, I don't care for Zach. Zach is literally the epitome of the young, naive Survivor contestant. Romeo is definitely villain, and I think we're only going to continue to see him that pan out. And I think part of it had to go into like his beauty pageant, like judgmental stuff, and how he's impatient and shit like that. I'm telling you, the more screen time he gets, the more unlikable he's going to be. I think
it's really interesting.
I think he's the only.
I did not have that read at all.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I guess
honestly.
Like you're getting what you felt from Ricard last season, is what you're saying.
Yes, but Ricard was a little bit more obvious about his signs, mainly due to his body language.
I can totally see Romeo being two-faced. I can absolutely see that, but I don't think he's unlikable.
I also don't think he did anything necessarily devious, like because he
literally the entire tribe was going Zach. That was a super easy, super obvious first boot.
Yeah, like he talked Drea down into not voting off Roxroy, but I don't think he like did it in a way that was demanding or anything. That like he just appealed to like, hey, we have an alliance here. If we break this up, then that puts us at risk.
Yeah,
and
they started that alliance on day one. Just
that's when you start alliances.
It's also bullshit. You shouldn't stick to an alliance on day one just because you create that alliance. You're not going to win the game if that's the case. But also the way that he talked about like the younger people and like how annoying they were.
I don't know. The way I see it, if I'm looking from Romeo's perspective, if the tribe really was divided at least at one point of a Tori, Zach, Swati versus Roxroy, Romeo, and Dre, I mean, you don't want to lose that 3 at this vote because then you're in the minority going forward. You have to at least stick to that 3 for this, and then it opens it up for the next vote. Maybe next vote he's not worried about saving Roxroy, but for this vote, I think you have to. You got to go with it.
Yeah, I honestly think we're just going to have to agree to disagree here. I found Romeo to be super charming. I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe I got to rewatch the episode.
I absolutely think he has the potential to be a villain. I'm not going to disagree with you on that front. I totally think he has the potential to be a two-faced little backstabber when we get deeper into the game. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. But I think he's a fun character. And I think Ricard is an example of like, that dude just came into the game and just straight up from the moment he got off the boat, he looked like he had a stick up his ass. You know, it's like he just looked like a genuinely like just even based on body language, he looked like a genuinely unpleasant person.
Shan would have won if Ricard wasn't there.
I think, I think Shan would have potentially made it to the end. But, maybe I'm just clinging to, this villain part just because, like, there's no one else that's been giving me those clear vibes. I think all of his vibes are subtle, whereas at least with Ricard, they were a little bit more obvious. And like I said, as you said, also, it was in the body language. But I think maybe I'm also getting some of his like preseason stuff, in my head as well. But I'm telling you, I think he'll be the villain of the season.
Right. Hot take.
Right. I think Romeo might just be like the person to watch for us as the Survivor storytellers, because I think we have like radically different opinions of him. So that's pretty interesting.
I mean, it's not the only contestant that we had radically different opinions about. So we'll definitely have to see how these people pan out.
Sure. All right, next up.
It's funny, the winner picks so far. Ours winner picks we're all really divided on.
Yeah, Romeo is my winner pick. So
Wow.
I don't know what to tell you. I think he's
Casey, who's your winner pick? Do you have
both sides of the coin.
I currently don't have a winner pick, but if I had to throw 3 people in the winner pick, it would be like Daniel, Marianne, and Tori. And I know they're all drastically like way on different spectrums, but I'm telling you, I think Daniel has the best chance, assuming he doesn't do something crazy and messy early on. Marianne, I could definitely see her once again being a David type character, if not the winner, then a fallen angel. And then Tori, I think Tori has a chance and already has potentially put her messiness aside for a moment.
So you think she has a Holly Hoffman-esque edit possibly in her future?
To be honest, I forget who Holly Hoffman is. I'm going to search her up real quick.
Survivor Nicaragua. First episode, she throws like one of the guy's shoes into the water because she's trying to Russell Hanson. Not a very good start.
Lord.
And then she does really good.
The few $1,000 shoes that she threw in the water.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's as messy as that, because if I remember correctly, Holly came clean about that later on.
She did.
I think Tori is a little bit smarter to not admit her mistakes, but yeah.
All right. Okay, we don't have to spend a lot of time on him, but obviously Zach was our, not medevac, but our first actual vote out. And the one thing I had with him is that at one point in the episode, my grandpa remarked like, "Oh, he reminds me of one of my old war buddies," and I was like, I would like to root for this kid because of that connection to my grandparent. But alas, c'est la vie. I like that he's outwardly a theme park nerd. I'll give him that much on the relatability scale for me. I feel like I could easily get along with this kid.
Yeah, I just think he was on the wrong. I could see it in a 2-tribe season, him being able to blend in a little bit and not be the first boost.
Yeah, I think he was pretty much drawing dead on this tribe, honestly.
Yeah, on this tribe, that if this tribe had a Jonathan, maybe he could have lasted a little longer, but it doesn't. And
Romeo is the muscle of this tribe, which is
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say Drea, but
that's true. That's a good point. And Tori. Yeah, honestly, the females on this tribe, just in general, are more fit than the men.
The females on the season are a lot more physically built than the guys. Like, there's a lot more like females who are like marathon runners and
I respect that. I respect that. All right.
Yeah, like I would take. I wouldn't want to take any of them on in a fight.
Casey, you seem to have some strong opinions towards
Zach. He is the quintessential too young, too fanboy to play Survivor. They very clearly highlighted his mistakes in this episode. And it's funny, like, I don't know if anyone's seen, but since he's been eliminated, he actually posted on social media that before he went on to Survivor, he wrote himself a letter, multiple letters, depending on what placement he might get in the show, that would like talk him through it and encourage him.
So he did like actually kind of sweet, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's a very innocent thing.
Yeah.
And he did like a first boot and a pre-merge and like, all that other stuff. But he just made too many mistakes. And I think one of his mistakes, which was telling Tori about the that people were talking about her. I'm not gonna lie, depending on my relationship and read on Tori, and obviously it's a much different read from watching it versus being in the game, that is a mistake that I would almost make for the right person. But also his intense paranoia leading up to tribal, and
he threw her under the bus hardcore.
Well, and the thing is that he misread and sort of lied about what was going on, and even she said that didn't happen.
Well, here's the thing. like a lot of times people when they watch Survivor, they're like, "Oh, why don't they just team up with the idiots and then go to the ends with them?" Because
the
this is
idiots
why.
are unreliable.
Because like if you're not aligned with stable people, your entire alliance can fall apart like grabbing a handful of sand. It's just like so easy. It's like the more stable three in this group was going to stay together. And the one that had Roxroy was the more stable group because it had Romeo and Drea, who were solid with each other, where the other group didn't have any solid bonds made over these 3 days. And that's why people who get there and they don't think like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to play Survivor. No, playing Survivor is all about making friends.
Literally making friends.
All it is.
Yeah.
Make friends on Survivor. That's the whole game.
Right, totally. All right. Okay, guys, I think we did a pretty solid overview of this cast. Generally speaking, I think the word is cautiously optimistic. I am cautiously optimistic that this, at the very least, is going to be better than 41. Like, my standards aren't even high at this point. If this is a mid-tier Survivor season, I will consider it a success, honestly.
Did you guys see the flash that the do or die thing is back? I'm pretty sure I saw when it was flashing of the stuff happening. I saw the beware advantage and the do or die.
It did flash. The do or die could literally, that single moment could ruin the entire season for me.
If Marianne goes out to the do or die,
can you imagine? Jesus Christ.
Dude, that is such... What the flip were the producers thinking when they thought of the do or die twist? Yeah, 66% chance to just randomly kick someone out of the game.
I'll tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking it's going to be the weak mom who nobody likes is just going to fall out. That's who they were thinking was going to do it. But you have no idea who's going to last long in the challenge.
And you also
favorite.
And they also gave people last season the option to sit out. Like it is a horror. I think truly that is the worst twist I've ever seen in Survivor.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we can all agree the twists are one thing that we are not generally looking forward to in the season. Although the amulet, I'll give him points there.
Amulet's good.
It's cool.
Up on the amulet.
I mean, I'll just say that, if they can get a little bit more aggressive with their editing, you gave everyone like a fair edit this first episode, but a fair edit, and I know some people get upset about it, a fair edit does not necessarily make a good story. Heather straight up just got snubbed out of some semblance of an edit, but at least if you tell the story of these characters well, everybody should have a story.
I would honestly point to
make up for a bad season.
I would point to Pearl Islands as an example of like there are definitely characters on there that are less developed than others, but it doesn't really matter because the whole of it comes together so well.
I think that's a fair point. I think Pearl Islands is easily top 10.
I think it's so hard because like everybody wants to be a big character, but some people just get worn down by the elements in the game and then they just fall out. I mean,
yeah, sure.
And that just happens and you can't predict when that's going to be, but you still have to tell the story of the season. And that's what I hope that this season does. And it doesn't give us any like, hey, this person that had only like 5 confessionals in the first 7 episodes, they're the winner all of a sudden. Like, no matter what, I still want to see. That's why, like, when I've watched seasons like Redemption Island and stuff like that, I don't hate them as much as other people do because I'm just focusing on the winner and their story. Like, I knew Boston Rob won that season going in, so I was just solely focused on him. So everyone else became like superfluous. I didn't really care. So, but they told us it would have been so terrible if, like, for the majority of it, like, they just didn't tell his story and then just threw it on at the end. No matter what happens this season, I just hope whoever gets the fan favorite edit and whoever is the biggest character, I just hope we get to see the story of how the season played out and no important stuff is left on the cutting room floor.
All right. Well said. Well said. Okay, well, thank y'all so much for joining us on Survivor Storytellers. We're going to approach this very much the same way we approached last season. We're going to do, at some point, probably post-swap, we'll do a pre-merge check-in. Then we will do a merge episode breakdown. We will do a penultimate episode breakdown. And once the winner is crowned, we'll go through all the cast members one more time to talk about how their stories shaped up. All right. Big thanks to both of you for coming on, and see y'all later.
Bye.
It is
Marianne!